Hey guys, welcome back to the November 17th episode of What's Hot, What's Not. First thing I want to start with this week is Collins Lake. Don't forget that next week they are planning on putting some more lightning trout in there. So you might want to plan a trip, get some guys together for Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm sure wanting to do it myself. So maybe we'll see you guys up there. Now, for salmon fishing, I always say November 15th is the closer for the late fall run. And yesterday we went out and did a little experimental trip. We did get into a lot of fish, found a lot of fish, but they were up, they were moving. They just didn't seem to be too interested in biting, but they're going to be. So I got some nice screenshots. I got a few things I want to talk to you guys about. I found on the screenshot. So here it is. Okay, here's a good example of a school of fish we ran into down there yesterday. And here's one that's suspended up off the bottom, suspended, just about right underneath my boat. And then as my boat was coming into play, these fish moved to the side and went down where they were belly dragging. You see one right here, suspended. Here's a shadow. Suspended shadow. This is my side finder, by the way. Suspended shadow. And where these fish were coming down, they moved to the side, moved down to the bottom, and they're belly dragging down here. These are all, this is a fish, this is shadow. Fish, shadow. And that's a pretty good example of what happens when the water's low and it's clear. So you guys need to be sure and fish further back behind your boat so you can deal with this situation. And it's also a good example when I'm anchor fishing, where these fish will be up off the bottom. So you want some of your droppers to be, an average for me is 2 foot long, but sometimes you want to go as short as 18 inches for these fish that are belly dragging, and you want to go sometimes as high as 30, 36 inches for these suspended fish. So, don't get locked into one length on your dropper. Make sure you kind of watch your fish finder, see where the fish are moving, see if you can figure out how far off the bottom they are, if they're down like this or if they're up like this one, and put your dropper accordingly, and you'll find out you have a lot better success. So there's a tip for you right there. All right, hope you guys like that. Now last week I promised you that I'd show you some leaders and different setups for anchor fishing this late fall run. So let's get after that. So here you go. Okay guys, let's tie up a leader now. I like to use these little 3-ways right here. I don't really like the longer splitter ones for when I'm anchor fishing, because you don't really need them. It's just more junk for the fish to see and veer away from. So I use these shorter ones here. You only need one snap swivel. I use these Duralock. Now they come with the Brad's lure, so you can kind of acquire some that way by getting the Brad's killer fish. So you want one of those. I use on the dropper, I just use some cheap trilene, 20-pound line for the dropper, because it doesn't really matter. The point is you want lighter line on your dropper so it'll break first, and you won't lose your lure. And then you want 30-pound leader line going back to your lure right there. So first thing I do is I tie my dropper. I use a Palomar knot, which you can see on my knot tying videos. Make a loop and make a overhand knot and stick that through the loop and pull her tight. Trim off the excess. Now, this one I want to make 2 feet, 2 foot on the dropper. So you measure your 24 inches, and then I measure another 3 inches for the knot. And take your snap swivel, same knot, Palomar knot, Now these 24-inch droppers, I only really use them late season like we're into right now. Down there, you know, Sacramento area, nice landing, whatnot, because the fish tend to be moving more on the move, higher up off the bottom. So I average 2 foot, but sometimes I go higher, you know, sometimes I go lower. I kind of watch my fish finder and, you know, do it accordingly. Okay, you got your dropper there. I tie that first because I can run it through this one. Do the same thing, Palomar knot. Now, I always make sure too, and go past where I'm not going to use that little piece that I messed up by hooking my line on the little notch you put in there for you. Overhand knot, put that through there. And you can go like that. Now, also too, I want to mention that, you know, you should wet these. I'm not doing it right now, but you should wet these. Okay, now, if you're a big fan of using Silvertrons and you like to use them when you're anchor fishing, or you want to use them when you're anchor fishing, what I do is I use a steel leader, because a steel leader will hold them up where they won't just spin and then slowly just sink to the bottom and quit. So you can you make these up yourself, and all it is a piece of a wire you can buy at your bait shop, leader wires, and you just put a couple of twists in it like that, and then you just measure out, you know, your distance that you want for going back to your sinker, back to your Silvertron, and use that like that, and it works really good. They also have them where you can take and you take your Silvertron apart and slide everything onto the leader here and make it rigid, so it's just hooked right on the river, right on the lure. So it's hooked right onto the lure. We used to call them, years ago, we used to call them Sacramento spinners. So there you go with that. Now with the actual Silvertrons, you know, everybody, especially down in Sacramento, they all go for nothing but the double blades. And they work good for trolling, I'm not saying they don't. But when you're anchor fishing, I really kind of like the single blades better. Reason being is they don't take as much current or as much, you know, water to make them spin, and they also have more of a thump when they go around you, so you get more vibration out of them with just one blade over two. And I think you'll find you'll have better success when you're anchoring by using just a single blade one, so you might want to give those a try. These are some that I made up, did them years ago, and they work pretty well. We used to sit out there at Wars all the time. That's all we used was spinners. So there you go, gang. And also, please comment on my page. I enjoy your comments, especially you haters. The haters are the best. It tells me how good I'm doing. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed all that. So I want to thank you for tuning in to this week's episode, and I would like to appeal to you guys to please subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the little bell so you get notified. It helps me out a lot, helps my channel out a lot. So please do that, and we'll see you guys next week, and good fishing.